What's going on YouTube? West Hobbies RC. So today we're back with part 5 of the Phoenix Models Spitfire to Reno Racer conversion. So as you've seen in part 4, we got the wing completely done, exception of the black trim. We got the wheel wells painted, all the modifications we did to the wing with the shear webbing. So now it is time to start on the fuselage. So we're going to go ahead and start with the tail first. We are going to final sand the rudder just so it matches up a little better in here, just so it's not so bulky. So we're going to go ahead, final sand the rudder, final sand the elevator. We're going to start covering the elevator and rudder first. We still have to sand the wing saddle a tiny bit right up in the front. You can see exactly where it's hitting. So I think if we just take out material here and on the other side, it'll allow the wing to come up and fit close, fully without putting too much pressure and crushing the front sheeting right here. We are still waiting for the prop adapter to come in so we could get the cowling final mounted. But while we wait for that, we could go ahead and start the Monocoat, start the covering. So we're gonna paint the canopy as well. We gotta tape it off, paint the green black, get the hatch done. I'm thinking to cover the entire airframe in black first and then lay the silver on top, because a majority of the airframe is black, exception of like right here. Down will be silver with a green stripe. The rest of the whole top of the fuselage tail from back here back is all black. So I'm thinking that's the way we're going to do it. And plus the black is a lot easier to work with than the silver aluminum stuff, but it does look good. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start covering the tail, and then we'll start on the fuselage. Quick little tip for you while you're covering. Anytime you have an area that has a sharp bend like this, it's always good. Well, I like to anyways. You might have a different way to do it, but I always like to add just take a scrap piece of my covering, whatever color you're using, and I will put it in here first, and then go ahead and cover the surface all the way around. But that way, I don't have to worry about trying to stretch it and putting a relief cut and then wood shows through. You don't have to go as far as I did. It was just a piece I grabbed. You won't notice it once it's all covered. But that will give you a nice, clean, seamless control surface, and you don't have to worry about, seeing balsa wood through when you cut your covering to relief it to go around. Working with the Hobby King black covering shrinks extremely well. Medium heat, this stuff works great. Cheap for a 5-meter roll, around $15. On the elevator here, we do the bottom first, and then we do the top. Again, it doesn't matter if it's electric, just old school nitro way of doing it. So we get the elevator bottom done, flip it over, we get the top all shrunk down. Again, start in the middle, work your way out, pull the covering tight. You'll get a nice, beautiful covering job every time with no wrinkles. Now just doing the other part of the elevator here, get that done, and then this elevator and rudder will be completely finished. Alrighty, we have the tail covered. As you just seen in that last time lapse, we went ahead and covered the tail, top and bottom, rehinged it. We are not going to glue it yet, just so we can finish covering the fuselage, and I don't like to glue my elevators on until I have the wing bolted on, which we still have to sand the saddle down right here a little bit on both sides. So next we are going to probably tape this canopy off, tape it completely off, paint it black so that matches. We'll probably start with the hatch, cover that first. We're going to probably cover the whole fuselage black instead of silver, because really a majority of it is black from here. Like from here, there, this area is silver, the rest of it's black with a green stripe. So we'll probably cover the whole thing black and then add the silver, since the black's easier to work with. We are still waiting on the prop adapter, not here yet. Don't know what's going on. Should have been here today. It's not, is what it is. So once we get the prop adapter, we can put the hardwood blocks in for the cowling, get that finished up, the spinner gap. We can also paint the spinner. I'm going to use the stock spinner that came with it for now. I do have a carbon fiber spinner on its way, so that will look much better. So I guess next we will go ahead, get this painted, tape it off, get the canopy painted, get the hatch covered, and we'll start covering the fuselage up. We still have to sand a little of this wood away on this former, so both 8S packs will fit in here. I think I've decided that the receiver is going to go here. Of course, from the bottom though, so we'll put a plate right there, and that'll allow us to mount the receiver and the GPS unit that's going to be in it. Of course, elevator and rotor servo go back here. And then we have to find somewhere to put the RX battery, which I'll be running a 2S 2100 life pack for the servos. But that'll give us a nice area to run the wires up, nice and neat and clean. We'll cut like a 1/8 inch plywood plate to fit here, and we'll have 4 screws to screw it down, and that'll allow us to keep everything nice and tidy. Wires will come up here into the receiver. We're good to go. Mount the ESC will probably be mounted down here somewhere, probably on this plate right here. Probably mount it right there. But Power 60 is mounted, as you already know. So let's go ahead, paint canopy, and start covering the fuselage. Started with the hatch first, cut a slit in it for the latch to go through, covered it, shrunk it down. It came out great. And then I moved on to the bottom of the fuselage here. I do this little piece first and then move on to the side, which was pretty difficult to get no wrinkles and in one piece, but we got it done and looks great. So now we have one side of the fuselage covered, all black, and then we will go back and we're gonna make a paper template and I will do the silver. Of course, I left that much of the bottom just bare because that will be silver, and then it's probably gonna come up from about here or so, and it's gonna come around, and then all of this from here down will be silver. So I won't even worry about covering this side here. I did screw up a little bit. I forgot to sand the wing saddle. I got ahead of myself, started covering, and I forgot all about the wing saddle. So good thing is we can still sand some material away because this will be done in silver anyways. I'm gonna remove as much of the black as I can once I get the template made. I will remove as much of the black as possible. But because of all these lightning holes, which they start here and they go back, so I'm kind of thinking that I'll have enough room, but we have a lightning hole here and here. So I gotta wait till the template I make gets put on here to see, because if I don't run into any of the lightning holes, I will remove all of the black where the silver is gonna go down. But if there's lightning holes or anything, I'm gonna have to leave the black. The whole purpose of doing that is because if you try to cover these two together with no solid foundation underneath of it, it will pull apart at the holes that are in there. So I really don't like the cover on top of covering. You can do it. I'll explain that more when we get to that point. You got to poke a lot of holes to let the air escape. I'll explain all that when we get to adding the silver trim. But if I can remove the black, I will. It was just easier for me to cover this all in one piece. This is all one piece. On the side, of course, you can see the line split there. And then, of course, we got to flip it over and we do the other side. This was pretty tricky getting around here. It doesn't look the best. There's a couple little wrinkles right there, as you can see. But all in all, came out really good. I'm happy with it. The hatch is done as well. You've seen that in the time lapse, the hatch. I didn't finish the time lapse of the fuselage just because I was flipping it and moving it around. I figured it was gonna be hard to see. So there you guys go. This is where we're at so far. We're gonna go ahead and get the other side of the fuselage done in black, and then we will put the elevator and rudder on, see what it looks like, and we'll start making the templates for the silver. So be back in a minute. Real quick, I couldn't help myself. I put the wing on, just sat it on there. As you can still see, it is not fitting all the way down like it should, but we're gonna take care of that in a second. It looks so good. I'm extremely pleased with it. It has a nice aluminum, looks really nice and shiny. It's the exact color that I was going for. It's gonna look really good once we get this done in silver here, and that all matches. We still have to do the black, which from the picture it looks like it comes like this to a point out in the wing, so we'll get that done, get the green added to that. But all in all, everything is looking really good. I'm happy with the way the covering's coming out. You can see here in the silver I got a little wrinkled up, and you can see it kind of turn white from the heat, but that's okay. It'll be covered in black. We'll never see it. But the fuselage looked good, nice, smooth, no wrinkles. I'm happy. All right, let's go ahead and cover the other side. So I was just messing around really quickly, and I grabbed my pinstriping tape out, which this is for like RC car bodies and stuff. Very flexible tape. So rough idea, of course, got to put the cowling on, and this line's going to have to come up higher because it starts pretty high and then kind of slowly curves itself all the way back like that. But I was just getting an idea. So it looks like we have pretty solid wood underneath this line if we stay at this height. So if I measure down, once I get the exact line made and make the template, I could go down about a 1/2 inch here, and I can remove the covering from here down, because then the overlap will bite this covering and will give a nice strong bond, and we don't have to worry about it. So all this covering from here down will be removed, but it is what it is. I just wanted to do this in one piece so we didn't have a bunch of seam line. So I'll just go ahead, use my wood burner, and nice and cut this out, peel all this stuff away again, and then that way we're not trying to cover two pieces, because no matter how many holes you poke, you will still get some air, and I really don't want that. So that'll be the plan with that. Again, we have to wait to do the silver and mark the stripe out until we get our prop adapter, get our cowling final mounted, because once we slide our cowling on, that's when we'll start our line and run it all the way down, and then we can make our template, and it'll be a mirror for the other side, and do the other side. So next, we got to get back on covering this fuselage. So I'll be back once I get the other side covered. So I'm working on the canopy. I took a break from covering the other side of the fuselage real quick, even though I know I said that's what I was going to do. But I decided to mess with the canopy a little bit. So I originally was going to tape the outside off and just paint this area black, sand it, paint it, but every time you hit it, you nick it, it's going to peel the paint off, and it's going to look like crap after a while, and I don't want that. So I started messing around. I grabbed the acetone and a paper towel, and as you can see, it's taking the inside paint right off, no problem. I did end up cracking it a little bit right there when I took the canopy off, not a big deal. So that does work, and it's okay if it whitens out the plastic a little bit, because the black will cover it good enough, I think. We're gonna find out. Worst comes to worst, we have to paint the outside anyways. So I'm gonna go ahead and tape off all the middle, all the clear. I'm gonna tape it all off, get that done. And then I'm gonna grab acetone and a paper towel, and I'm just gonna start scrubbing. And you can see that was about 2 seconds worth of scrubbing. So once I get it taped off, that way I don't have to worry about the acetone hitting the clear that I want to stay clear. We can go ahead and get that done. And that way we can get this painted black, so when we set it up on the airplane, it looks good. Because right now it looks terrible. So I'm gonna tape it off and start scrubbing away at the green. Real quick, we finally got our prop adapter. It came in the mail today. So now we can get the prop adapter mounted. Of course, Loctite all your screws. We'll get the prop adapter mounted, get the cowling slid into place, and then we will go ahead, get the spinner on it, get the gap right, drill the holes, and then we can get the blocks put in and start painting or sanding the cowling down, get it in primer, and then we can tape the line off so we can start the silver. We're gonna do the black in a second on the other side of the fuselage. Real quick, while I was waiting for the prop adapter to get here, I decided to go ahead and paint a couple things. So I took the stock wheels, taped them off, painted the hubs black. I'm gonna have some aluminum ones ordered in the next day or two, but in the meantime, these will work. They look good, like the picture. I went ahead and I ordered a carbon fiber spinner, but it's coming from China, so it'll be here in like a month, and I didn't want to wait for that. So I just went ahead and took the stock spinner that came in the ARF. It was yellow, and I went ahead and just painted it black with some old cheapo 98-cent spray paint, gloss black. And then I went ahead and took the control horns for the elevator and rudder, and I painted those black. They used to be gray. Just a couple little details, the tops of the control horns, that way they match the elevator, because the whole back of the fuselage from about here is all going to be black. So that way the control horns just blend in, looks nice and clean. I will go ahead and take the control horns that go on the wing, I will paint those silver, just so they blend in and match. Little touches that make the airplane stand out. But now we're going to go ahead, get the prop adapter out of the package, get it Loctited, bolted on, and then we will go ahead and slide the cowling on, and I will be back to show you how to measure and drill and all that fun stuff. So, be right back. Alright, we have the fuselage taped to my table. Now I do this for aligning the spinner, which is something I have always done. So, I know I just showed that I painted the stock spinner black, but I decided I am not going to use this spinner. Looks good, but it's too small for the cowling. It doesn't fit properly. It just doesn't look right. So we're gonna take the spinner, toss it aside. We're not using it. I went ahead and ordered a Gator RC spinner. So this is an old spinner I have just for mock-up purposes. This is a Great Plains 3 1/4 inch aluminum back-plated plastic cone spinner. Now the Gator RC spinner is the identical backplate spinner style, same 4 bolts. The only difference is the Gator RC spinner is black, number 1. Number 2, it is a electric, E-vented spinner, so it's got slots in the cone, and the back plate is slotted a lot differently, so it lets air go through the spinner and into the motor. Main reason why I wanted to do that was there is no cooling for the motor in this cowling. Now, of course, I could cut holes in it and it wouldn't look right, but there's no actual cooling here. We have the scoop, but the scoop's not going to let air into anything. Scoop air goes right into the wing. Pointless scoop just for looks. So we need air. A vented spinner would be nice. So I went ahead and ordered a vented spinner. Now, I like to tape the fuselage to the table for doing this. Now I tape it there, make sure the fuselage is straight. Now I have the cowling slid on, we got the prop adapter on, everything's good. So now I take blue painter's tape and I put me a couple pieces around the cowling. Now I do this for back plate spacing. So I'll push this all the way up until it hits the back plate of the spinner. Not tight, I just want to have that nice gap, and that will give me the perfect spinner gap that I am looking for. Now you do this to your spinner style and liking. So we have this in place, we have everything tightened. This is an APC 14 by 14 nitro prop. I don't think you can see it, but it is a 14 by 14 nitro prop. I like to run nitro props because they are stronger, thicker. I've had E-props break. So now we will go ahead, get the cowling pushed up into place, which I'm gonna have to do that off camera because it's gonna be too hard to try to film and do this. But once I do that, be right back, and then I'll show you with taping and drilling. So I'll be right back. All right, so we got the cowling pushed up into place, taped down with blue painter's tape, which is what I like to use. So now we're all taped down. We have a nice gap all the way around the spinner to the cowling. So I went ahead and measured 3 inches apart, 1/2 inch up, and that is where our screws are going to go. One there and one there. So on this cowling, we're going to do just 4 screws. I don't think this needs anything else. It's not a nitro or a gas engine. It's going to vibrate a lot. If it was, I would put more screws through. A lot of the times I'll end up running a screw down under here on each side, and sometimes I'll put screws up through the top just to really secure this cowling. But with it being electric, no vibration really, 4 screws into hardwood is going to be more than enough to hold this cowling. In the future, if we ever have a problem, a lot of times too is I'll put a screw midway through, run a block, but we don't need to do that on this cowling or on this airplane. It'll be good. So now we have the cowling measured, taped, put into place. So now I go ahead, drill our holes, and get ready. Once we drill the holes on all 4 mounting screws, we can pull it all back apart, then reach in from the inside, down up through here, and get the hardwood blocks glued in. And we already know where our holes are, so we can glue the blocks in, and then we can re-drill our holes, and now we'll have a secure location to mount the cowling. Then we can sand the cowling down, prime it. I'll go ahead and cover the other side of the fuselage black, put the cowling all back together, and then when it's primed, we can go ahead and lay our line and start for the silver, because it's going to start up here, run its way down, and go all the way down and around. So I'm going to go ahead and get the holes drilled and get some blocks cut. So the cowling is screwed in place right now, and I'm just using servo screws as temporary screws to hold it in place. But the cowling is mounted on. I'll show you in a second what I had to do. We have a perfect spinner fit and spinner gap. Everything looks good. I'm very, very happy, extremely pleased. Again, we're getting rid of this spinner. It will be a black vented spinner, but we have no rubbing, a perfect gap. 1414, which is the prop we're gonna test on. So basically, I cut little pieces of this hardwood, which is very hard plywood, and I inserted it, which is going to be very hard to see, basically around, can't even, down underneath this former right here. You can see that former on the other side in there, on each side, and the same with the bottom. So I went through that little opening there and inserted the plywood down in there, and it was just little, I did little 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch strips, and then I cut them lengthwise. So they were just little squares. And that way we have a nice secure location and a secure mounting. The cowling will never come loose. Again, the servo screws are just temporary. They will come back off, and I will final mount. When I final mount the cowling after paint and everything, we'll use a bigger screw with a nylon washer just to give it a nice hold and it doesn't chip the fiberglass around. So now we can, which is going to be in part 6, because unfortunately this video is already over 20 minutes long. The hatch still fits perfectly. So in part 6, we will go ahead, and I taped it off. I will paint it and cut the tape. Finished with the acetone to get all the green off. It's working. It's not eating the paint, the plastic, so we can get all the green off. We can paint this black, and then our canopy will be done, and then we will start the silver trim. So we're gonna line the fuselage, paint the cowl, or sand it down, get it in primer. We'll mark off the silver, but this is where we're at with the build. So I hope you guys have enjoyed these so far. Again, I'm trying to keep these videos to 20-25 minutes at the longest, because I think anything longer than that, you guys won't want to watch it or just won't watch the full video. So this will include part 5, and we will go ahead and start on part 6. So thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. Have a great day.